Do you also suffer from overthinking? If yes, then this book is for you. I just completed the reading of this interesting book saying don't believe everything you think. Why your thinking is the beginning and end of suffering is very well explained in this book by Joseph Nguyen. My name is Hira Touqeer Waqar and today I'll be giving you a critical review of this book. Joseph is a thought leader that helps people to achieve their divine purpose. The best part of this book is that it simplifies the complicated ideas into very calm and easy to understand language, where the ideas and the concepts are accessible for the readers of all ages and with all demographics. One feels that without being judged and without receiving that criticism, one can achieve mental peace and inner satisfaction. The book, as I just mentioned, it is in a very simple and easy to understand language. But another strength of it is that it has very relatable examples. It uses very practical exercises for the readers to achieve that state of content. Then it has very short and very thought-provoking phrases, which I'll be mentioning it in the later part of my book review. The tone of the author is very comforting and validating and is very positive for the readers. So anybody who is facing mental or psychological adversities because of the world and the fast-pacing world that we live in, this book is going to be the key to relaxation. So as far as being specific in this book is concerned, what I like the most is that the book is full of quotes and phrases that are very insightful and that make you really think. So here I would like to mention a few thought-provoking quotes. The first one is, all psychological suffering is rooted in thought. So that means that it is not actually your surroundings that are the pain, but it is the inner suffering that causes you that pain and that leads you to feel that pain. Another quote is that peace is not something you find outside. It remains within our inside. That means that the people who are looking out for peace around their surroundings or they are finding their happiness elsewhere, they should not look it around. They should find it within their own self. In today's world, what we see is that people look for happiness around them. So in that way, they are searching for the sources that will create happiness and which are going to elevate their moods. And for that, they are sometimes looking into social media, or just for the sake of happiness, they are making their plans out with the friends, or we are finding happinesses at workplaces, at coffee shops, and whatever we are planning in life, it is for the sake of content and happiness. However, we should find happiness in the little things that are within us, that are not happening around us, but we can achieve that happiness finding the contentment within us. That can be even at the comfort of the pillow that you have, that can be in the comfort of the room under the roof that you have, that can be the comfort of the mother just sitting there and laying down with her. So that can even be the peace of reading a book that is providing you with that satisfaction. So it is not something that you keep on waiting for something big to happen in life to create that happiness. It is that little things that are happening within us that create that satisfaction and content. The third quote that I would like to mention here is that your mind can be your greatest prison or greatest source of freedom. This I would like to also explain by a great example that has been mentioned by Joseph in the second chapter. And let me just move towards that example of Zen master. In this specific example, Joseph is explaining a conversation between the Zen master and samurai. So samurai once approached the Zen master, and in a very husky voice, he asked a very intelligent question. He said, "Zen master, tell me what is the nature of heaven and hell?" The Zen master opened his eyes and he said, "Why should I be telling this to you? This is a disgusting question, and to a worm like you, I would not be explaining it to you." The samurai could not bear all of this insult, and this made him react. He raised out his sword and placed it over the head of the Zen master. And the Zen master smiled and very politely he said that that's hell. Then the samurai froze. He immediately understood that anger made him to kill somebody, and there were tears in his eyes out of embarrassment. He was so deep in torment that he was ready to kill somebody. The samurai's eyes filled with tears. Setting his sword aside, he put his palms together and bowed for gratitude for this insight. And then when he was humbled, the Zen master said, "Now this is heaven." Through this example, we are able to feel that it is not the situation that is heaven or hell. It is how we perceive that situation and what we feel in that situation. We can relate it to the times of COVID a few years back, when there were people who went into depression because of those circumstances, when they were not able to get out of their homes, and when there was no work going on, and when they were supposed to stay together within those four walls of their houses. And there was a certain way things were bought, they were brought into their houses, the things were managed. So that was quite a different way of living. And because of that, people went into depression. But in contrast to that, there were families who discovered their ties and their family bonds, and they perceived the entire situation in a very different way. So there was happiness, therefore there was playfulness in that house. They get more deeper connections with each other. And they were there in their homes, leaving their work behind, leaving even the education behind when there were online classes going on. The children spent the best days of their life with their parents. So in the same situation, in the same circumstances, in the same pandemic, there was heaven in some houses and there was hell in the others. So that is how we are able to perceive different feelings from exactly the same situations. As the book is also full of a number of analogies, I would like to quote the one that clicked with me the most. It says that, imagine that I give you a bowl of cloudy, dirty, murky water, and I ask you that how would you make it clear? What would you say? I had some thoughts in my mind that how I would clear that water, but definitely it was not the one that Joseph mentioned in the end. Like I said, I may filter it, or I thought that I may boil the water, and that is exactly how he said that people are going to react to this analogy. However, he said that most people don't realize that if you just let the bowl of dirty water sit for another period of time, the dirt will begin to settle at the bottom. So once the dirt begins to settle at the bottom on its own, and after a while the water above is going to become clear automatically. That means that our minds also work in the same way. That if there is some kind of dirt, or if there is some kind of unrest in our minds, the best way to deal with that and to get it all clarified is to just let it stay and to let the dirt and that unrest settle on its own, rather than you are filtering it or you are boiling it, and that is obviously going to aggravate the situation. So without disturbing it and without trying to fight with it, I think the internal version of filtering and boiling can be very easily avoided by enabling the minds to settle down on their own. So as we know that the natural state of the water is clear, likewise is the natural state of the mind as well. It remains clear if you let the time settle down things. And that is what we have always heard as well, that time is the best healer. And we have also must have experienced it in life, that if we try to react to every situation, things they get more disturbed. And if we let the time to step in, and if we give that time to every situation, the things start getting settling down. In fact, sometimes we also regret giving our overreactions to those situations. So we should wait for responses rather than giving those reactions. In chapter 7, there is this beautiful acronym that is mentioned by Joseph, in which he says that this acronym is going to be your shield in any negative situation, which is the pause, P-A-U-S-E. From P, we say pause. Pause and take a deep breath whenever you face a negative situation. Then comes A. So from A, it is ask yourself, is this thinking making me feel the way I want? U, understand. Understand that you have the choice to stop and let it go. S, say. Say and repeat the mantra. Thinking is the root cause of suffering. Last is E, experience. Experience your emotions fully without being judgmental and without showing any resistance. Especially in today's world, the kind of fast-paced activities that we have, the kind of routines, the kind of social media impact in our lives, and obviously the Gen Zs, the kind of stress they take, and like you meet any other person and he says that he's going through a mental trauma these days, which used to be a taboo back then, just hardly a decade back. So people are so vocal about their mental needs as well nowadays. And living in such a stressful environment, even at your workplace and even at your home, because of the high divorce rates and because of the high children stepping out of the homes of their parents and living an independent life and demanding their freedom. I think these books that are self-explanatory, where you need not sit with another individual and discuss what you would not like to discuss and where you would not like to be judged. Such self-explanatory books, they are going to lead you towards that equilibrium of life that will create that balance that is the desire and necessity of every individual. If we talk about the weaknesses of this book, it has the concepts that are very repetitive in its nature. The same phrases and the same quotes are being repeated in different chapters. Also, there is no scientific evidence that is supported by Joseph in the different concepts that are explained in this book. He oversimplifies the concept of overthinking at times. It is not a very easy process to get rid of your mental suffering, the way that he describes. Also, it has limited practical exercises. The ones that are mentioned at the end of the book are not sufficient enough to achieve that mental content that Joseph has described in this book. Overall, I really liked the experience of going through the book, and I would recommend it to everybody around there, no matter of what age or gender you are. I think the kind of lives that we are experiencing these days, such books, they are worth reading, they are worth giving your time, not just because you may like reading, but also because of what we are facing around in our daily routines, in the fast-pacing world. Such books can help us achieve that inner peace that we really desire. Here I would also like to end this book review on a quote again by Joseph, that if you want to stay alive, nourish your body. But if you would like to feel alive, nourish your soul. It is our responsibility to revive back the culture of book reading and the richness of literature, which has been lost somewhere in the noise of social media and other forms of media. However, the player of newspapers, books, novels, literature, and any sort of print media, it still stays the same. The happiness, the content of books, it is irreplaceable by any kind of audiovisual aids. So I believe that Mile Institute is doing a great job by having these kind of book reviews, because people around there, they get an overview about what is inside these couple of pages, and that creates that curiosity that invites people to open up, to go out in the markets, to actually buy these books and to go through the content. And we need to value these authors who have taken out their precious time communicating to their readers. They have a very different and a unique connect with their readers. This relationship is beautiful between the author and the reader, and we need to revive it back.